2, Mavic 2 Zoom, DJI FPV. Oi, another one? Hi, this is Jimmy from TechPacing Studios, and today we're going to talk about the newly released drone by DJI, which is the AIR 2S. It's the successor to the AIR 2, which was only released about a year ago, even though to me, maybe it's because of the pandemic, it feels like it came out even like more recently than a year ago, but it has been a year. By now, you've probably seen quite a few videos show up on YouTube from creators who have gotten early versions of the AIR 2S and posting their reviews. We don't have an AIR 2S, and also we don't plan to be getting one. Because honest, not trying to flex, but we have plenty of drones. We got the ultimate in portability with the Mini 2. We have our production drone that we use with the Mavic 2 Zoom. And then for, chase videos or, freedom of motion and diving and all that stuff to kind of get adrenaline feeling footage, we got the FPV, which I've been flying in pretty much every day. So we don't plan to get one. However, with our experience that we've been using these drones a lot, I feel like we can add some insight about whether this drone will be appropriate for you, depending if you're newly getting into it, some of its features, and if you already have one of these drones, is it a worthy investment? So that's what this video is going to entail. This new sensor that the AIR 2S has is capable of 5.4K at 30 frames per second and 4K at 60 frames per second. Now, I know there's a lot of people saying, oh, you don't need, 5.4K, what's that? I mean, there is some latitude in that and some usefulness, right? I don't think it's a waste. Being able to, like always, right, you take that higher resolution image and then being able to crop in without significant loss of resolution and still have a 4K image is a useful tool. So with that, you can do that, right, with the new AIR 2S. The AIR 2S comes in at about 600 grams, right? Compared to the Mavic 2 Zoom, which I have here, and the Mavic 2 Pro, which is close to like 900 to almost 1,000 grams. The AIR 2S is that it has the sensor or orientation, or the newly implemented sensors is a bit different from what you're used to seeing on previous DJI drones. On these, you have 2 in the front, you have 2 in the rear, and then 1 on each side. With the new AIR 2S, you have 2 in the front, and then another one that 2 in the front that are kind of pointed at the top. And the reason why that's useful is so when you're using active track and flying and causing things, when a drone, in order for a drone to get speed, the drone has to tilt itself. And as it tilts itself, as you can see these front eyes, the faster you go, the more it stares at the ground. So less likely it's gonna catch something that's coming. If it's tilt like this way, going to rise, and it can make a head-on impact. But if you have those 2 now new sensors that are on the top, pointing at the top of the head, it can go at relatively high speeds and still use the active track combined with the newly announced APAS 4.0. But the one area that it doesn't have sensors is on the side, whereas the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom it has sensors on the side. And so I'm guessing, much like the variable aperture, they're saving that for the Mavic 3 Pro, because obviously they wouldn't want to create something that would basically undermine their current flagship, which is the Mavic 2 Zoom and the Mavic 2 Pro series, or else, why even buy those? So I'm guessing they'll save that for the next iteration of the Mavic 3 Pro. There are other new software updates that the AIR 2S has. One of them is called Master Shots. I don't know how often I would use that because I'm typically doing my own shots anyway, but basically it's just a templates of shots that it would do in succession and create like a little montage of an area that you were planning to video, right? And it does it all for you. So I guess it's a nice feature if you don't want to spend the time to edit, stuff like that, and just have something quickly to do. One significant improvement that DJI has included into the AIR 2S is Ocusync 3.0. The first product to have that was and is the FPV, right? And so with the new controller and FPV, it's capable of nearly 7 miles of transmission. Of course, that's theoretical, ideally, but you could do that. Now, whether you can fly back, that's another thing, right? But mostly when I see that number, it's not about simply just, everybody thinks when they see that number, just, I'm gonna fly 7 miles out away and do the thing, and first of all, it's not even legal. Second of all, what's the point? You just go and come back. It doesn't really make any sense. What that number really represents is its ability to overcome signal interference in areas that potentially have Wi-Fi, RF signals, or if you have an occlusion in line of sight, right? And having that signal penetrate and not have to worry about, your signal degrading, whereas you see your image is starting to get fuzzy and you're starting to lose control. That's where that number comes into, right? And the Air 2S has Ocusync 3.0, which is, I believe, it's cutting edge technology when it comes to signal transmission. The value of the Air 2S. Now, it's in my opinion that since I'm already owning the Mavic 2 Zoom, and if I had the Mavic 2 Pro, if you're one of those people who watching this video and have that drone, I'd recommend not getting it, right? Yes, there are certain things that are a benefit. It could help, like, having the sensors that are more on the top of the head and going like that, Ocusync 3.0 and that, but it's not enough to say that this is superior, right? The Mavic 2 Zoom with the zoom lens, the optical zoom lens, is a powerful thing, right? And combined with the Mavic 2 Pro having that 1-inch sensor, Hasselblad, right? Hasselblad color science, and it has the variable aperture. So I can't say that the Mavic Air 2S is superior to those. However, there is value in that because it's significantly cheaper than those, right? And so if you're on a budget, you're very close to what those are, in terms of performance. So if you're a person that doesn't own any of those drones, but you want to enter in that prosumer category, I would recommend getting that drone. Of course, people were going to say, well, what about the Mavic 3 coming out? Like, honestly, if you read forums, you check Facebook, stuff like that, people have been saying Mavic 3 for like 18 months now, or at least. In the past, DJI has always relied on third parties, such as Polar Pro, to supply ND filters. However, with this one, this is just an example, right, for the DJI FPV. However, in the Flymore combo, they're actually including ND filters with the Air 2S, which is pretty cool because that's like the first thing outside of, accessory that I feel that is actually useful, right? I mean, there's plenty of things you can get, like longer legs and stuff like that, but I never felt like I needed those. But as a filmmaker and getting appropriate shutter speeds, because you don't have a variable aperture, ND filters to get the proper motion blur are pretty important, right? So kudos to DJI is to finally giving that. Obviously, I don't know the quality of it, but I mean, I imagine, like a lot of things, it'll be at least good enough. For those of you out there that find this interesting, leave a like or subscribe to the channel. And for those of you that are entered into the giveaway, or if you're watching this, you haven't entered it, why not? It's all you got to do is subscribe, follow the rules, and potentially maybe even get something out of it anyway. This is Jimmy from 1015 Studios. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Take care, and God bless you.